Joining us now, one of the authors of the 4 Boston Globe pieces yesterday urging Elizabeth Warren to run, the executive director of MoveOn.org, Anna Galland. Also joining us on the set here in New York, Dorian Warren, professor at Columbia University, host of Nerding Out on Shift by MSNBC. Also with us, Howard Dean, former chairman of the Democratic National Committee, MSNBC political analyst, and Sam Stein, the guy who got the big get with President Obama on the interview. Sam Stein, senior politics editor and White House correspondent of the Huffington Post. Anna, tell us your case for Elizabeth Warren running.
So this moment was made for Elizabeth Warren. I think we all know that. We know that economic inequality is surging. It's at the worst levels that it's been in decades. And Elizabeth Warren has made her life's work speaking out for the little guy and standing up to entrenched special interests, standing up to Wall Street banks, standing up to billionaires, and fighting for, their regular American right to get by, to make a decent life for themselves. And so our case is really simple. We need Elizabeth Warren's voice and message and track record in the Democratic presidential primary. We need it because it's a powerful voice, it's a powerful message, it speaks to one of the key issues of our moment, because she'd be a formidable candidate, because she could win in the Democratic primary, and because she could win in the general election, and because if she run, we will not have the feisty, real, deep debate that we need about where our country is heading and the policies that we need to embrace to get us where we need to go, especially when it comes to economic inequality and especially when it comes to standing up to, entrenched corporate special interests. That's the case, and I think the Boston Globe's op-ed made the case powerfully well over the weekend. And both the fact of that op-ed, the fact that the biggest paper in Senator Warren's home state came out in that way, and the substance of the case are just, more momentum for this campaign.
Howard Dean, it was really an extraordinary moment in the Globe's history. They've had a lot of potential presidential candidates in their reading jurisdiction up there, obviously from JFK forward, and they were never moved by any of them to get out there and say, this candidate really needs to get in and run. What was your reaction to it?
Well, I think Elizabeth Warren does have, I agree with almost everything Amy said, except for the end where she said that we're not going to have the debate unless Elizabeth gets in. I think it's pretty clear that Elizabeth's not going to get in. I also think Elizabeth Warren is saying exactly what needs to be said. So I agree with a lot of what she says, but I think Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee, and Hillary Clinton's going to win. And Hillary Clinton's already adopting some of Elizabeth's message. The clip that you showed earlier, I think, was very, very important. I think everybody's getting the message. People know how to read polls, and they know how to listen to electorates, and I think Hillary Clinton is not an exception to that.
Dorian Warren, the dramatist in me, really doesn't want to reach for this particular piece of paper on the table here. It is the statement from Elizabeth Warren's press office. The statement says, as Senator Warren has said many times, she is not running for president. Party pooper Howard Dean there just said it for us. But please keep the speculation going for another couple of minutes before we have to go to a commercial. The point every one of these 4 pieces makes, first point they make is, it will help Hillary Clinton if Elizabeth Warren runs for president. It will make her a better nominee if she's going to be the nominee.
Yes, it will help Hillary Clinton. It will help the Democratic Party to have a competitive primary process. But let me say this, Lawrence. Senator Elizabeth Warren, no relation, by the way, although maybe spiritually, she is already running. This is a shadow primary right now, and she has been vocal on these issues that Anna pointed out of income inequality, so that today, like the governor said, the clip you showed of Hillary Clinton at the Center for American Progress, if you didn't show it to us and we just listened, you might have thought it was Senator Elizabeth Warren. She has already moved to the left to respond to the populism of Elizabeth Warren. So in some ways, she's running. Maybe she hasn't declared officially. She's running in a shadow primary and already influencing the language, the rhetoric of former Secretary of State and soon-to-be presidential candidate Hillary Clinton.
Sam Stein, there are a lot
Lawrence,
of... Let me just get Sam in here for a second, and I'll come back to you. But Sam, there were a lot of overlaps in these 4 pieces, an editorial, 3 op-ed pieces, a lot of redundancy. Eloquent, though. Anna's was written in her style. Robert Kuttner's was written in his. And one of the points that Robert Kuttner makes is that in the Democratic Party, the heavily favored front runners have frequently stumbled and not done so well and not been there at the end. And as Hillary Clinton showed in 2008 against what was to become President Obama.
Yeah, I mean, Hillary Clinton is a personification of that. I'm going to guess at what Anna was trying to say there, which is that...
No, that's not fair. Just say your piece, and then Anna's going to say what she was going to say.
I bet I can get it. The key word in the Boston Globe that we read at the top was to make the issue a, quote, priority. Anyone can talk about the issue. Certainly Hillary Clinton's talking. I was actually at a conference a week ago where Ted Cruz was talking about two Americas. So the rhetoric is being adopted not just within the Democratic Party, but across ideological lines. The question is prioritizing the issue. And so that is what the draft movement effort is all about. That said, I've done some reporting on this. It's not monolithic within progressives that people want Elizabeth Warren to run. There are people who are worried that this draft Warren movement will actually marginalize her because the moment she steps in, she becomes more of a politician. She becomes someone who responds to political incentives as opposed to someone who's above the political fray. So it's not so cut and dry that every progressive in the universe wants Elizabeth Warren to jump in the race.
Yeah,
some have great reservations.
Lawrence, if I could step in, since Sam did a beautiful job, I think, of getting at some of what I was going to say. I think it's important to note that Elizabeth Warren being a credible threat to step into the race is what has allowed her to make her, her issues are the center of the political debate, not just for Democrats, but as Sam notes, but for Republicans as well, are embracing some of her rhetoric. They won't match that rhetoric with policy proposals, but she is defining the political debate that we're having right now, in part because she could step in. And what the Boston Globe op-ed is saying, what MoveOn members around the country are saying, what our partners from the Working Families Party in New York, from Democracy for America, from 300,000 plus people who have signed a petition calling on her to get in the race, what we're all saying is you need to actually be in the fray to keep defining the conversation that we're having.
Anna, what about,
to talk about economic inequality, not just now, while there's a credible threat, but for the next 18 months, we need her to be in the race making that case.
Anna, I have a quick question, though. We've limited the conversation to just the domestic arena. If you run for president, you have to have a foreign policy, too. And as far as I can tell, I don't know what her foreign policy is. Are you comfortable with
But we're not going to have, we're not going to have a
inequality?
debate about foreign policy, about climate change, about gun control, about any of these vital issues that we need to be talking about, and yes, having a fierce debate about. We're not going to be having a serious debate about that in the context of the Democratic presidential primary if we don't have a real contest there.
That's
and
true.
so one of the very important reasons that MoveOn members have voted overwhelmingly to get behind this effort to encourage Senator Warren to run, and why we're seeing all this wind in our sails, this momentum from places like the Boston Globe's op-ed, is that she actually needs to get into the race to help create that space for that kind of genuine conversation. There'll be plenty of time to ask her questions about where she stands on issues, including foreign policy, if she gets in the race. But she has to do that to force that conversation to happen.
See, I actually